You know how sometimes it just feels good to say, I told you so? We're going to talk about that on today's episode of the Daily Dental Rewind. Run the intro. All right, so welcome back to another episode. I'm Dr. Jordan Kane Smith here at Breathe Modern Dentistry. Had a fun case today, maybe more fun for me. Anyways, an emergency call. Patient came in this morning and had broken a tooth. Now, in the past, and I mean like about 2 years ago, we had told her that, hey, these four bottom lower molars look really fragile. They had large silver fillings. Those silver fillings had been there a long time. And they had little spider cracks all through the teeth. And so we said, hey, these are really fragile. I don't recommend you leave them this way. Let's talk about doing some porcelain restorations around them. Let's secure them. Let's make sure they don't break. And luckily for her, they didn't break in a sense, or this one didn't break in a way that compromised the health of the tooth. In the long run. Sometimes that is not the case. So anyways, she kind of skirted her luck, but showed up this morning. And here's a picture of her tooth. When we diagnosed it a few years ago, there was a crack here on the front of it. There was a crack going down the inside of it. There's another one on the outside that you can't see very well, and then another one on the back side here that we're also noticing. So this tooth is basically splitting in every direction where all four cusps are stretching apart, in other words. I'm going to get on my soapbox real quick, and I may frustrate some other physicians or whatnot. I guess I'm entitled to my opinion. I am a dentist, right? So I will say this, that I'm not a big fan of silver fillings, and I don't get into the side of things where it's toxic or the mercury. I don't even think that it often needs to go there, in my opinion. There's a difference between dental materials and the natural biology of our teeth. So you have enamel, you have dentin, all those things have their own expansion and contraction amounts. And they call it actually, I'm going to forget it. I'll get to it in the end. It's running off the tip of my tongue. Coefficient of thermal expansion. There it is. So something from dental school stuck, I guess. But the point of that is that a tooth and a material need to be very similar in their expansion and contraction in order to obviously operate together when we restore a portion of a tooth that's missing. So if we have a silver filling, which has a high coefficient of thermal expansion, meaning it expands and shrinks more than the teeth do themselves, then from hot coffee to ice cold tea to hot coffee to ice cold tea, whatever it may be, you're getting a change in the size of the expansion and the contraction, kind of like the concrete in your driveway, and why they put those wood slats in the middle of it, because over time it expands and contracts in winter and summer, you get cracks in your driveway. So similar things happening with a lot of teeth, and so we try to use dental materials that are more biologically compatible and similar to enamel and dentin. Off my soapbox. Back to the patient. So the patient came in today, and this was, again, the tooth from 2 years ago, and today she shows up, and the whole inside front cusp is gone, all the way up to where you can see the silver outline of her filling was. So what happens over time is as these weaken and they become more fragile, they become leaves of a tooth that are essentially now, instead of being connected to one another, they're now separated. And so in her case, what we warned her of happened. And it does feel good to sometimes say, I told you so. But I was also very thankful. She's such a sweet gal. So thankful that I could save her tooth and it didn't compromise her tooth by going all the way into the nerve and actually splitting the tooth in half, which I've seen multiple times. So if you have a lot of silver fillings, it may be something to discuss with your dentist. There is a variety of, honestly, opinions on these. There are still thousands placed every week in America. I just think there are better materials. Now, oftentimes you're going to pay a little bit more for better materials, but I do think it saves you from these kind of hassles. Just to give you an idea of what we did for her, the tooth in front of it also had some concerns. If I could find, here it is. So this tooth was just in front of it, and you can see fractures going down the back, the inside, the front. Basically, it's twin from the tooth that fractured. So I said, hey, listen, you're going to be numb. This tooth already going to have to be restored with a crown. Why don't we just do the both of them and have that side of the mouth feeling better? That way you have no other worries. So that's what we did. So in about a 2.5 hour visit, we cleaned them all out, rebuilt them up, scanned them with our 3D scanner, milled out 2 porcelain restorations, and bonded them all on before she left. So came in with broken teeth and left with really secured and very aesthetically pleasing too, which is nice, crowns for those 2 teeth. So I'm not going to say I hate to say I told you so. I have to say that sometimes, but these things are very predictable. And so I would warn you that if your dentist says, hey, there's some fractures, there's some concerns about these teeth that you have, and they're recommending, onlays, inlays, crowns, whatever it may be, Listen to them. If you can, ask them for photos. I think that's one thing we do in our practice. Day in and day out, we use photographs like crazy. We want to make sure that you guys see the same things that we see. And if you don't get to see those kind of things, I think there is reason to sometimes be a little bit concerned. But ultimately, if you can get brought in on the conversation and you can see the same things we see as dentists, it's usually pretty evident what needs to be done. So anyways, we got her all secured. She's feeling great. That was it for today. That was kind of the surprise in the morning, and thankfully we were able to work her in. Great example to show you guys, and thankfully we took care of her teeth, and hopefully you learned something on today's episode of the Daily Dental Rewind. I don't think I have much else to say. I'm going to call it a day, finish the rest of my coffee, and I'm going to get on home. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks so much for watching.